I think 15 years ago, if somebody was developing a brand new application, there was some debate internally, and there were sort of religious, wars about whether you were going to own the infrastructure yourself or whether you were going to put something in the cloud. And by the way, 10 years prior, there were religious war kind of arguments inside of content provider organizations about whether they should own their own data center and it should be in their building, or whether it should be outsourced to a third party. The first time that I met CNN as a prospective client for Akamai, they had a data center in one CNN center in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And they trusted their data center operations more than they would have a service provider down the street. At the time, part of the reason that people built regional data centers in different markets was because the infrastructure teams at these companies wanted to be able to go and physically touch and deal with their servers that were in a data center somewhere.
Yeah.
And so, that became something that at the time was, there were these religious camps around how this was going to happen. I don't think that anybody today thinks that they're going to build a data center for their application infrastructure. And I don't think that any brand new application starting up is thinking about whether they should own their own infrastructure or utilize the public cloud. The question of when enterprise applications are going to fully migrate to the cloud, the question of how legacy applications and legacy IT organizations are going to manage cloud migration is interesting, but there are, more applications yet to be born than ones that need to migrate to the cloud. So, it's sort of a longitudinal, right? It's a cohort analysis that you kind of need to be doing. So there isn't any company that was started in the 2020s, right, last year and this year, that thought to go and buy a server and stick it somewhere.
Right. Yeah. I remember looking up server prices, like, oh man, where am I going to get 20K for this thing? Now it's just a credit card. It's amazing.
No, that's right. Or do you want to go to Sun Microsystems and buy the Spark, whatever with all the redundancy in it? Or are you going to go to some, are you going to go to IBM for theirs, or Dell for theirs? Or are you going to go to some generic manufacturer that'll stick your logo on the box? And, those were the debates we had back in the day.
Yeah, and do you have a powerful enough air conditioner to run it? All these
right. Well, listen, this is still true. Power density in the power density of server infrastructure and of what we're doing today in the data center is massive. I in the early days at Akamai, I would go spend a lot of time with data centers, and in the early days of Ridge, I've been spending a lot of time walking around data centers. This is a 20 plus year gap between my, between when I was doing it there and when I'm doing it here. They sound different today. Data centers sound different than they did 20 years ago.
Yeah.
There is way more, there is a much louder hum, and there is a lot more cooling. And the power density of data centers is huge compared to what it used to be.
Yep. And
because we're sticking so many more processors into such a smaller space, they run just as hot as they ever did, and now you're needing to cool that density. It's quite a different world.
Yeah, and along comes NVIDIA to make that worse.
Well, exactly. Sure. Right.
These GPUs that are like, I don't know, they're like thousands of cores in one single thing, and yeah, I guess we. We think in software terms, but you can't change the laws of physics.
Right. And so, you move to liquid cooling and you move to this, and there's lots of things that people are there's so much innovation at every layer of the stack, but it is simply true that at the end of the day, where we run our application is not actually a cloud-shaped box that somebody drew on a PowerPoint presentation. Where we run our application is actually on a physical processor made of silicon in a box in a building with a big air conditioner on it connected to the network.